And we're back on Second Street talking about how we can get our nation's economy revving on all cylinders. Professor Lee, I want to get your take now. What is it that you think we need to be seeing happen at the federal level to get the economy moving along?
Um, I do not see a role for government in the sense that I don't believe that the role of government is to direct the economy. I don't believe in dirigisme, as I think it's called in France. I believe that the government has a very important role in creating a framework. I believe, and I think David Dodge has said this. I think the governor of the Bank of Canada in that famous speech a year ago, "Time to Break the Glass," has said so. Various studies have said so. That we have practiced policies of protectionism over many, many years. I've called it before the House of Commons Finance Committee policies of subsidize, protect, and regulate. Very similar to the problems of Europe that Mario Draghi has identified in his excellent study on collapsing European competitiveness. So what we've got to do is instead of protecting the economy, instead of protecting roughly a third of our economy from direct competition, we've got to open up the economy. It's economy that drives, as Schumpeter taught us, competition drives innovation because it's the threat of falling behind and failing that causes companies to invest in R&D and innovate. And we've done exactly the opposite by protecting so many different industries and from competition. So I would argue that the first thing we have to do is get rid of things like the interprovincial trade barriers and the protected industries, the 6 or 7 or 8 protected industries we have. That would be a good start.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you to unpack that a little bit. What are these protected industries for viewers at home who maybe aren't familiar with all these government
I
policies?
can give
Just
you
give us
one
a
right off
couple
the top.
examples.
Sure, one off right. Everyone
Sure.
knows about cell phones. We have some of the highest cell phone fees in the world. Why? Because the Telecom
Mm-hmm.
Act says that we will not allow any foreign firms to come into Canada. So we have 3 companies, and according to competition theory, and we know from practice, what happens when you restrict competition? The domestic competitors simply put their prices up. Adam Smith taught us this 250 years ago. When businesses get together, the conversation soon turns to a conspiracy against the greater public good. So when you restrict and create oligopolies, it becomes nice and cozy. And I'm saying this as a former banker in a Canadian bank many, many years ago. If you don't have to
Yeah.
compete, well, why will you invest in R&D? You don't have to. You don't have any competitors.
Professor Breznitz, I want to pull you into these points that Professor Lee made, and that is, do you think that that's part of the solution, is to find ways for governments to get out of the way and increase competition? Is that part of the solution here, or do you think there's something else at play?
So, two things. A, I don't think the government of Canada is in the way of the private companies. As a matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
as my colleague just said, I think the government is on their side and protecting them. I wish the government was on their way to prevent them from having an antitrust. But we don't. So I fully agree with that. But I think the situation is even more severe. If you look at the profit, the one thing that has been constantly going up and where Canadian business are much better than their even American counterparts, the profit margins are very, very high. That's true both for the protected industries, but also for those that export the commodities. And if I'm a CEO, I have huge profit margins. I have a public subsidy of highly skilled people that I can use on old equipment and still have those profit margins. Why the hell would I even buy new technologies? We have created a market framework in which we basically told the CEOs, you're doing a wonderful job by just taking the things out of the ground and selling them, and we will let you have massive profits on it. It's not just opening the market, is figuring out how to change our framework vis-a-vis our trading partners. So most Canadian companies will have to export, and they'll have to actually compete in value added things, not just in pure commodities. We don't do that, we're not going to use our brains. We don't use our brains. As a rich country, we will not raise productivity. Period.
Okay, listen, when we come back, I want to ask you a little bit more about that point. What would you recommend to Prime Minister Carney if he came to you and said, I need some advice We'll be back with more after this commercial break.